Hello and welcome to the Cloister. Last Advent we went on a retreat at Worth Abbey. Whilst we were there we met a wonderful young man called James who was doing an internship with the monks there. At the moment there are two monasteries here in the UK, Worth Abbey and Worth Abbey on the Isle of Wight, who offer this amazing opportunity for young people and older people to go and explore what monastic life might look like for them. You don't have to sign up to become a monk. This is just an opportunity for people to explore what monastic life has to offer them. In today's episode, we hear from James, who had just completed his internship at Worth Abbey when this was recorded. I hope that his reflections and his thoughts on his time at the Abbey encourage you to attend a monastic retreat or even consider if an internship might be right for you. May these reflections be a blessing to you.
So, hi James. Tell us a bit about yourself, because actually this is the first time I've met you. Tell us a bit about you and your background.
Yeah, so 26, got baptised early this year on Easter Sunday.
Nice.
Was in the military 7 years. And that's about it.
Amazing. What's your what would you say your kind of upbringing was related to the church? Do you have much of one?
No, I'm the only religious person in my family.
Okay.
A few of my friends from school have gained the faith as well.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think there was anyone religious around me growing up at all. So part of me coming here was to learn more about why people are religious.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's deciding to be religious or growing up with it and just going to church every Sunday. There's a step above that of, I'm going to commit myself fully to God, never be married, never have children, and live and breathe the gospel for the next 60, 70 years of my life until I get put in the ground. So why someone would choose to do that is obviously a question someone who gains faith has.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And why Worth? Like, why did you decide to come here?
There are only two places in the UK that offer an internship at a monastery. Worth Abbey in here.
Yeah.
And Worth Abbey they have a slightly different programme from my understanding, and part of it is it's 18 to 25.
Right.
And as I just said, I'm 26.
Slightly out of the demographic.
So
yeah.
when I was applying, I was aware that I was going to be out with the demographic for Worth, so I chose here.
Amazing.
It was pretty corporate.
Clear cut for you. Yeah, that's fair. Let's just backtrack slightly. You've Googled, internships in the south of England. You've come up with these two. You've realised you're out of the demographic for Worth, so you've signed up. What are your expectations back then before you came here? What were you thinking you might experience or hope for?
I wasn't really sure. Obviously, prior to coming here for 2 months, there was a fair bit, not loads, but there was a fair bit of back and forth and a few phone calls with Father Luke, who runs the internship programme.
Yeah.
And he invited me for a weekend prior, before the summer in June. So that allowed them to check, just a sanity check, a bit of an initial interview with me to make sure they were happy with me coming here for 2 months. And I'd never been here. It was good to check it existed before I drove here for 2 months.
It's not some clickbait.
Yeah, quite right. So but in doing that, in the initial phone calls with Father Luke, coming here for a weekend and meeting them, they sort of roughly described what I'd be doing, and sort of what they could give, and what I could receive, and vice versa.
Yeah.
That was sort of briefly outlined in that period.
Okay. And a question I think a lot of people have when they come and stay, especially in the monastery, is what is the accommodation like? Is it a bed and a grated window?
Underground, deep in a cellar, no, it's pretty standard accommodation for the sort of people that would go away for work and live at work.
Right.
So, for example, they have care workers here who live alongside some of the older monks.
Yes, yeah.
It's the accommodation you'd expect for a job like that if you're a worker who lives at your work.
Right,
Whether that's, engineers that work in a power plant or
Right,
care workers,
sure.
that sort of thing. It's pretty standard stuff.
Yeah.
It's got a desk, sink, cupboards, bed.
Yeah.
Single bed, obviously.
Yeah.
They don't expect couples to come on this, but...
Yeah, okay, that's fair. So you've been here for almost 2 months then.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges like that been, and even before starting this interview we talked jokingly about the challenges about getting up in the morning, but that may not have been a challenge for you.
No, not at all.
Okay. And I guess with your time in the military you may be used to kind of routines and
I don't know how much my time in the military actually relates to this.
Okay,
I'd say very little.
Okay, fair enough.
The getting up, if you come here for just a weekend, there's like less of an expectation for you to be part of the divine office and be sort of intertwined with the community.
Yes.
So after a few days of going to church 6 times a day, having the same meals with them, and having that routine during the day, it makes going to bed at 8:30 quite easy.
Okay. Yeah.
And then if you go to bed on time, getting
It's
up
much
for
easier.
matins is quite easy. Plus, if you're here just for a weekend and you don't get up for matins, which they don't expect you to anyway, you're here for a day or two and then you leave. If you're here for months and you never turn up to something every day in a row, you're obviously going to have to see them every day and be like, I forgot to get up again. I couldn't be bothered. Like,
you don't want to be that person.
Yeah, you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I wouldn't have said that was a challenge at all.
Okay.
I think probably the biggest challenge is actually trying to organise the amount of, like, I'd say, I don't want to say progress in life, but obviously you come here in a spiritual journey, and to lay the foundations of your life from here. It's a forming of younger people is what it's been described to me as. That's what they want to achieve.
Yeah.
They want young people to come here and then form them so they can go off into the world and live fruitful lives. And the amount of progress you make in that direction over a very small period, matter of weeks, is quite substantial.
Okay.
So one, it's a lot of a mental strain to actually take all that in. 2, it's a fair amount of work, like making sure you write it down to remember it. Because it'll be such a profound thing you think of one day in prayer, and you're like, oh, that's so important. Like, I really need to, when I leave, make sure that I do
write
that.
Down. Yeah.
And then you have pages of like oh, how have I never realised this in my life?
Yeah.
And I think in that sense it's quite overwhelming.
Yeah.
Compared to getting up in the morning, like that's definitely harder.
Yeah. Okay. And what about that kind of disconnection from the digital world? I mean, as you talked a bit about your generation, usually quite connected. So how have you found that?
Absolute bliss.
Okay. Yeah.
Not checking my phone, like not just having it in my pocket, like my phone and my laptop are on my desk in my room.
Yeah.
And I check my emails maybe once a day.
Yeah.
Just because I've still got a life outside. I've still got bills to pay and
Yeah.
things.
Sure. Yeah.
And Christmas is around the corner. I've got to order presents for people and all that sort of stuff. But the expectation of being available all the time and not having that is so nice. I mean, sometimes the monks will talk about something that's been in the news. I'm just like, well, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm here for me. I'm living my journey, my life. Not having my phone in my pocket is one of the nicest things about being here.
Okay.
Like easily top 3.
Amazing. Okay. Has anything kind of surprised you about your experience? Like maybe some expectations about prayer and all the rest of it have kind of been different but not unexpected. But has any part of your experience kind of really surprised you in how you've either what's happened or how you've kind of reacted or felt about it?
I mean, I'm sure they get this a lot, but my biggest surprise was how normal the monks are.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they hear this all the time, but you come here with the expectation that they're going to be like really wise old men, and they're going to be considered as like elders, like they've just come out the side of a tree or something. Like,
yeah.
And they are that. They are full of wisdom, and they are incredible
absolutely.
to be around.
Yeah.
But then also, like, they're just a bunch of lads.
Yeah.
In the church they're very serious, but as soon as they're like having coffee and that, they're just a group of friends. They're messing around like anyone else would.
Yeah.
I was very surprised by, I don't want to go into details and name names, but
I
was surprised at how normal they are. And that was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Because it helped not feeling like there was no feeling of isolation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I could feel like not that I belonged here, but that I wasn't an outsider. That wasn't like I was with a bunch of loonies. Like it's just a group of guys.
Yeah. Did you find that was that you were able to kind of join in with some of their regular banter and conversations, or
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. I think it probably is more targeted towards me than the other way.
Okay, interesting.
I think probably because I have a slight reservation from the respect,
right?
In the lives they've lived and who they are.
Yeah. So less likely to want to take the mickey out of them.
Yeah. You know, I'm not gonna joke around about one of them being in a wheelchair. Like it's not appropriate.
Yeah.
But he might make a comment about me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it goes back and forth.
Okay.
I've had my fair share.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. What would you say if you were kind of you're heading home for Christmas or whoever your family might be, and they're like, what's been like, what was the best bit, what was the highlights, what were the bits you're going to kind of really hold on to, maybe like in the immediacy but also kind of in the long term.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the party line, and it is true, so I'll say it anyway, even though it's a cliche, is that I feel closer to God.
Okay.
Is obviously one of the, if not the main reason, but at least one of them of why I came here, is to feel a closer connection with God.
Yeah.
And I do. And I sincerely hope that upon leaving and going back to a totally different world, that I can actually take that with me and it doesn't fall out of my pocket as I get in the car, as it were.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest one.
Okay.
Is a closeness with God.
Yeah.
And how to live a fruitful life to honour that.
Okay. Yeah. And I suppose kind of linked to that then, what rewind 6 weeks, and your kind of spiritual journey. What would you see as the biggest significant change, if any, looking forward to you going back into the kind of real world, as it were? Not that this isn't real, because they're real people, as you've talked about, but in your kind of spiritual journey, what do you think has been the most significant?
I would say having God as the foundation of my life.
Okay.
They describe, as I said earlier, about the forming of younger people as the first step on a staircase. You come here to get you onto the ladder or the stairs, and this is the first step, and then you can go off and climb the rest on your own.
Okay. Yeah.
This is a nice imagery, and that sort of having the foundation of your life in Christ, is probably the biggest thing. And it was actually the Bible verse today. So it'll be coming up in Mass later, about the parable of the wise and not so wise builder building houses. One builds it on stone.
Yeah.
One builds it on sand. And the one built on sand washes away.
Yeah. Yeah.
That obviously doesn't have real terms. I can't say like get up early in the morning.
Yeah.
But because it's so broad.
Yeah.
But what that broadness encompasses is living my life through Christ, and that's the foundation of it.
Yeah.
Helping out other people, avoiding sin, being the best person I can, getting up early in the morning, going to bed on time. All those other things are part. You gain that from the foundation.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I can't give a specific example.
No, that's really good. So it sounds like you're saying that these peripheral, although they're not peripheral, they're important kind of ways you'll express your Christian journey beyond this. Comes from the fact that you kind of more deeply understand rooting yourself in the person of Christ.
Absolutely.
Rather than rooting yourself in the things that you do, which a lot of people feel is how they work that out. So no, that's really interesting. And if you could kind of encourage other people to come on this experience, like what would you say? If you met another young man who says, maybe I could go to core. I'm still 25, or whatever. Or I could come to Worth. I'm kind of interested, but I'm not. What is it like? Will it be boring? What would you say to another young person who's saying, I'm really interested in this experience?
Yeah, mate, sign up. This is without a doubt the best time I've had in my life, and the happiest and most serene I've ever felt.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I'm not saying that because it's an interview.
Yeah.
This is the happiest I've ever been. And I would like to think that would be the same for any other young man. We all live different lives.
Yeah.
There's other young men here who have totally different backgrounds to me, and totally different struggles, and gain totally different things, but are all making progress.
Yeah. And
I would be surprised if there was anyone in that rough demographic of young men in this country that wouldn't gain massively from doing what the time I've done here. And like, do you not want to be happy? Like,
yeah.
that would be what I would say.
Yeah. I think you're many of us are in generations that are searching for a deeper happiness, a deeper joy than what the culture of instant likes and kind of substances or whatever it is can give us. We're all searching to love and be loved.
Absolutely.
And this experience, from your experience, even just meeting you, you kind of have a piece about you that I would assume would come from your experience you've just had. And so, sort of to finish up, describe your kind of overall experience.
My experience is living amongst a community that are constantly trying to create an environment of gospel living, and I get to be part of that briefly, learn how they do it, why they do it, and the origin of what it means and what it's rooted in, and ask them lots of questions about it. One, so I can understand why they do it, and two, so I can take all the lessons away with me and try and recreate in a different environment in my own way that same gospel living. Okay.
Yeah. And then just are there any kind of final comments about your experience that you would like to kind of finish with? Anything that I wish I'd said that was part of the, to kind of express something?
I would reiterate that this is the happiest I've ever been. That I think plenty of other people would benefit from this. And if you're even remotely considering it, to just get in contact with them. The inquiry, go on the website, go straight to Father Luke, or his email's there as well. Even if you don't end up attending, you can have a phone call with him, have an email back and forth, maybe come for a weekend.
Yeah.
There's not really anything to lose, 15 minutes of your time on a phone call.
Yeah.
If you're even slightly thinking about it, get in contact, and I'm sure you'll be convinced, not through their overt efforts, but from what you see, that you would want to come on it. That would be my final comment.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you very much.